The Broncos look to turn the page in a hurry as they get set to face the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday Night Football, and we are getting you ready for kickoff. Hello, thank you for joining us here in the studio. I am Phil Milani alongside Sidney Jones and the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater, and we have to talk about the elephant in the room first here, guys. 15 games in a row the Broncos have lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. Steve, take us inside the locker room. Is this something that the guys care about? Because many of them haven't even been here for all of those.
Let me think. Yes, most definitely. That's really it's a huge negative that a team has dominated us for that long. And I know the players feel terribly about it. They want to get back in there. They want to get a win any way they can. They got to get a victory. Now, will it happen? You know, the Chiefs, they're one of the best teams in the league right now. We haven't been playing well. Our confidence level still needs to be at a high level to go in there and play hard.
Yeah, well, I do agree with Steve in the fact that it is a big deal. I mean, you don't want to lose 15 consecutive times to any team, let alone the Chiefs. But, you know, I think head coach Sean Payton, he really put it best this week. It starts internally here. The focus this week is to focus on this team internally, which, you know, they have to be prepared physically and mentally to face a really good football team and to face a good football team in a really tough environment that is Arrowhead Stadium. So I think they're approaching it the right way. They, you know, are focusing on themselves. Maybe they're not looking too much at this 15 consecutive game losing streak. And I think that's really the smart move here, because the point at hand is just to improve week by week. So if they can come out on Thursday and be better than they were this past Sunday, I think that's a positive.
Yeah. And hopefully the guys don't have that on their minds. Now, certainly I hope that's one of the motivating factors, but when it comes to actual getting down to work, you're right, Sid, you got to focus on the process. You can't look at, hey, you can't even look at if you're going to win or lose. You got to go out there and say, one play at a time, I'm going to do my best.
I agree.
The Broncos did play the Chiefs very close last season, lost by just 3 points there at Kansas City, and were leading heading into the fourth. And look, it's not like they've been losing to a bad team. Steve, you mentioned the Chiefs. They've won the division every year since 2016.
Yeah, they're well coached. They have a lot of great talent on their team, and that's the destination. That's where players, when they get older in their careers and they haven't won a championship, they want to go to Kansas City to see if they can get a ring. So they do have. They're the team that has it kind of going on right now, and they're the team that we want to be like. And it starts with one game, one play.
One play at a time. That's right, Steve. It's weird. This series has been really strange. Obviously, the Broncos have lost to 15 in a row. But before that, with Peyton Manning here, the Broncos won all of them. So, except that final time. Maybe things will start to change here, though. The Broncos, the last time they beat Kansas City, it was a Thursday night game at Arrowhead early in the season. So,
I like that stat, Phil.
Maybe it's aligning again. I don't know.
Yeah, and football is so crazy because the games where you think teams don't have a chance, normally there's some type of surprise, and I'm hoping that our guys can go out there and leave it on the line and surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, and weird things happen on Thursday Night Football.
A lot of people want to talk about the streak and things like that, but the fact of the matter is, you know, each and every year there's a new team, and as unfortunate as it is to, be a part of something like that, it's new every year. You can never, it's not like it's the same team going up against each other for however many times in a row it's been. So it's a new year, and obviously a win would be great, but it would mean even more just of where we're at in the season and how much we need it.
Now, obviously, the Broncos defense will have its hands full this week going up against Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. I mean, the list goes on and on. But, Sidney, it probably starts with stopping the run for this defense.
Yeah, absolutely, Phil. I mean, head coach Sean Payton, he talked about that. It's going to be really tough to win games if you can't stop the run defensively. And really, that starts with gap integrity. That starts with restricting these holes, and they have to clean that up. And if that's something they can do, then think about the pass rush. You know, if they're able to do that, then they're forcing the Chiefs to be in these third and long situations, and then here comes the pass rush. And one guy that I've had my eye out for every single game so far this season is outside linebacker Nick Bonito. He's been extremely impressive to start the season. Steve, I know you love him.
Oh, yeah.
He already has 5.5 sacks on the year, and, you know, I believe he's the only Bronco since 2020 to record back-to-back multi-sack games, so I hope we see some more of that this Thursday.
Yeah, he's got to keep Patrick Mahomes in that pocket.
Yeah, he's got to keep Patrick Mahomes in the pocket. But getting back to what you're saying about the run, it's extremely important because the Kansas City Chiefs, they're known for Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, making all the big plays down the field to the receivers. But guess what? All that starts with the running game. Isaiah Pacheco, if you don't stop Isaiah Pacheco, he'll go crazy on you, and they'll continue to run the ball, and then that opens up the passing game, and it makes it worse, kind of a downhill spiral. So you're right. Right off the bat, we got to stop the run.
And head coach Sean Payton, he did say this week that he believes that doesn't have to do with communication on defense, that really it's the technique. So that's something that needs to be cleaned up for sure.
Yeah, and it's been a lot of weeks in a row here. Obviously, the Dolphins game was bad, but the Bears, they gave up 171 on the ground to the Bears, and then 234 last week against the Jets. So, and you got to limit those explosives. I mean, the big plays that go to end zone, that's a big part of it here, and the Broncos will look to do that this week.
How complicated is fixing the run defense right now? What do you
Well,
think?
look, hopefully sooner than better. I mean, generally speaking, it's probably not as easy as you think, and yet it has to get better. Now, we're getting an entirely different running attack this week. Predominantly shotgun, but that's something that it's one of the keys in this game. These guys have gotten better and better at running the football, and this Pacheco, and you just look at the Jet game and what he did against a good run front. That's a big challenge this weekend.
On the offensive side of the ball, the Broncos have really shown some flashes this season. Russell Wilson has gotten off to a good start, but Sydney, we haven't seen it for the full game.
No, we haven't, Phil. And really, I think that starts with just consistency. We need to see this offense be more consistent. You've mentioned it. We've seen flashes from them. I think back to, the second half of the Bears game or the first half of the Commanders game. They just need to find a way to put that all together in all 4 quarters, all 60 minutes of this game. And that's something that's been a topic of conversation throughout the first 5-6 weeks here of the season. So hopefully we'll see that. And I think for this offense, too, the key is just going to be playing clean football. They really need to limit those turnovers. We saw that really hurt them in this past game versus the Jets. So start there if they're able to do that, minimize those. I think I'm excited about what this offense can do if they're able to clean some things up here.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. The penalties have been a problem, and the turnovers. And it's crazy because you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, look at the Denver Broncos. We've both had 8 fumbles, but they've only lost 2. We've lost 6 of the 8 fumbles that we've had. And I think that's a product of guys being around the football, offensive linemen being down the field, blocking, being able to help scoop up some of those fumbles whenever they happen.
Yeah, 6 lost fumbles this year. That's 30th in the NFL. So got to play a little bit cleaner. The Broncos also had the safety last week. So can't beat yourselves, especially against a good Chiefs team here. What about in the red zone, Sydney? Last week, they had an opportunity to really put that game out of reach against the Jets, had to settle for some field goals. They got to find the end zone more often.
They do. They need to be more efficient in the red zone. And head coach Sean Payton, he said that starts with the run game. And he even admitted that starts with him as well because he needs to be more patient with the run game. So I think if they're able to run the ball more effectively, of course that means they're going to be more efficient in the red zone then as well.
Yeah, and I can tell you, man, as a defensive player, when offenses are able to run the ball effectively, it takes the will of the defense away, and especially in the red zone, because you've been running the ball when you're not in the red zone, and when they get into the red zone, hey, you know what's coming.
Right.
And you can't stop them. So you can break teams' will by being able to run the ball. Hopefully, they'll be more effective at that. They'll stick with it a little bit longer, and we can punch some of those balls in the end zone.
And one of the bright spots for this offense has been Jaleel McLaughlin. I mean, who would have ever thought, he would have had the impact that he has had so far through 5 games. It's been amazing to see. Here's what Russell Wilson had to say about the offense this week.
It's a great football team on the other side, and we got to play great football. We got to play clean. We got to be focused on this year. Got to be focused on this moment, one play at a time. Going into a tough environment, it'll definitely be loud. It'll be a lot of emotions, all that kind of stuff. But I think the best thing we can do is stay poised.
Time to wrap things up now. Sydney, your final thoughts on the matchup?
Well, Phil, I'm excited. First primetime game of the season for the Broncos. Obviously, Thursday night games, they're pretty hard with the quick turnaround here. But, you know, something that kind of stuck with me after this past game versus the Jets in the locker room, a lot of players talked about the advantage that they could have with this short week. You know, they're able to get that last loss out of their minds and get the bad taste out of their mouths sooner. So hopefully, you know, they're able to do that on Thursday night and come out with the win.
Yeah, Thursday night football started in 2006. I have no idea what it's like to play on Thursday night, but I can imagine having played a game on Sunday and then, you know, having to rest, and then, you know, you normally have an off day. All that stuff is out of the window. You have your off day on Monday, and then you're back into the groove. And normally on Thursday, you'll be having your tough practice. So it's going to be quite different than the regular routine, but hey, you got to do it. You got to be ready to play. Got to be just like it's a Sunday. Got to be ready to go out there and play good tough football.
One way you could think about it is, hey, if this team is able to pull off a victory, then you have like a little mini bye after this, and you'll be feeling that confidence. You'll be feeling pretty good, I think. So
especially against
I
the
agree.
Chiefs.
Yeah, I think that's one way you could look at it here. And you know, a lot of talk obviously about Patrick Mahomes. Him and Russ, their stats are somewhat similar. Mahomes 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions this year. Russ has 11 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So
yep, 1,210 yards for Russ, 1,287 for Mahomes. They're pretty similar in that aspect. The Chiefs have just won more football games. I know Russ would like to switch with him in terms of the wins and losses.
Yeah.
I guess that's the stat that matters the most, huh?
Right.
So, well, we'll have to see what happens. The game 6:15 kickoff on Prime, but also locally here in Denver, you can watch on Channel 7. So 6:15 coming up on this Thursday. That's going to do it for us. For Steve Atwater and Sydney Jones, I'm Phil Milani.